testosterone, we have a problem.
This is Outside the Manosphere, where two guys with zero credentials dive past the cliches of masculinity and try and become better friends by actually talking to each other. It's weirdly hard, but we're doing it anyway. Join us.
Welcome to Outside the Manosphere. My name is Carlos.
And I'm Skip.
Skip, how's it going?
It's going all right. It's motacular.
It is motacular. Yeah, we're both sporting mustaches right now.
Yeah, it's a good look on you.
Hey, it's a good. It's a good look on you too. I think you know what, we're gonna have to maybe curate some photos of ourselves and maybe post one or two just so the world can see what these mustaches are like.
And we also have to put up some tabs for joining our team on Movember, because we do have a team on Movember, and that link is in the show notes. So If you want to join our team, you don't have to give money, but go and take a look at it. If you can't grow a mustache, you can always run or choose your own challenge for the month.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just to raise awareness of men's health, essentially. And we'll post that link also on the Facebook page and in the Instagram page. The Instagram page is a very sad place. I've only got one post up, but I will find the energy to make that a little more lively. So back to Movember here. Well, back to our mustaches.
Our gorgeous mustaches.
I would like to know how your mustache has been received at home and around your sphere.
Yes. Well, my wife asked who I was. My older son just said no. And my younger son, he's pretty kind, and he was like, I prefer it the other way, I think.
Really?
I might have to, I think I wrote it down somewhere, so I might have to look through it. But yeah, it's not been, other people that see me regularly have just been like, okay, nothing, no, what I would call positive reactions.
You know what? We've had the exact same experience because, well, also first, are there many mustaches in the Czech Republic? I don't remember. I mean, I didn't clock them when I was there because it wasn't, why would I? So I don't remember.
No, I don't think traditionally. I mean, maybe some of the older guys, and now at the other end, the hipsters, right? You see them. But just like the normal people walking about town, not so many. Although I've seen a few, and like I always wonder, like, is it possibly another Movember guy? There was a guy at the gym with a lady friend of his, and they were eyeing me really strongly. So either they really thought I was a cop or something, or because I shaved my head, I was some kind of nefarious individual, I guess. Or he also had a mustache and he knew about it and was doing it, and they were curious. But I don't know which one it was, because I was like leaving the gym and I didn't stop.
I should say that we didn't start from close-shaven skin either, though. We both had various levels of beard growth, and we just shaved off the beard and kept the mustache. What were you going to say about that?
No, I remember what my younger son said. He keeps telling me I look like Eggman from Sonic the Hedgehog.
Right. Yeah, I couldn't remember the name.
Yeah. Because I shaved my head as well. So, and I don't know if you've looked at the Movember page for our team where my captain picture is, but I took that picture and I sent it to Jess and I said, "Oh no, I'm Monterey Jack from the Rescue Rangers."
That's funny. That's a deep callback.
Yeah, but it was like the first thing I thought of when I saw that picture, that's funny. Which is not a rousing endorsement for me.
I think the mustache looks good on you. So same like you, I went 3 very alarming days with nobody commenting on it at all. Like I know they saw it. Obviously they saw it. And most of them were women. Like the first day was all women, and then the second day it was more women, and then like, hospital staff and stuff like that, and other paramedics that I would see like at the hospitals. Yeah, like nobody commented on it. It wasn't until the third day that another coworker like arrived at the base. And he's like, "That's an amazing stash you've got there."
Yeah,
and he's like, "Is that for Movember?" Like he knew everything, and he was talking about how he usually grows one and this and that. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, other than that, like there was just nothing. Like there was no "that doesn't look good" or "that looks great" or like no or like or even like a kind sort of smirk. Nothing. So
yeah.
Yeah, but since then I've had yesterday I had like every year or twice a year there's a training, so we have to go to like a classroom sort of thing, and that was a very public acknowledgement of it because I hadn't seen one of my coworkers and she saw it, she burst out laughing, and I was like shut up, it's November or Movember, and then it created a big discussion, but she was like no I like it, so that was nice.
But that's great that it created a big discussion because that's the whole point of it, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of the wrong place to like sit down and like educate everyone. But I mean, they're all medical professionals, so it's not like the concept of it isn't like out of their minds,
Yeah. And now you can share our team and they can join it.
Oh yeah, no, I did. I dropped that ball completely.
That's okay. There's future times.
There's time. I will say that Jody likes it though, surprisingly.
Really?
Yeah, she does. She likes it.
Well, that must be nice for you.
That's funny. Yeah. I don't know that I like it, man. Like at first I'm like, this looks cool. And now I'm like, I don't know, man. Like we'll see. We'll see how it comes in.
Well, I think you look significantly better with a mustache than I do. So
well,
that's my vote.
Well, I agree to disagree because I think yours looks quite good as well. Thank you though. All right. So we had tapped on some an Upworthy article with worst alpha male tips that we've been kind of just whittling away at. It's a lot of fun, I think. And let me have a look here. We are down to, question 3. Again, so these are alpha. The article is called "Guys Share the 9 Worst, quote, alpha male tips they've ever heard, and it's so cringe." So the first one was real men don't eat salads / the all meat diet. Second was real men don't display love and affection for their partners. And the third is sex with the woman on top / going down on a woman is not manly. And since I introduced this embarrassing topic, let's hear what your thoughts are first.
Well, I think the really funny thing, just like sex with a woman is not manly. Like I have seen so many things where from the Manosphere, and we've even had some like with when the female Silver Surfer came out, where people are like, well, if you're attracted to this type of body type, you're gay. And it's like all these things that are like having sex with a woman is gay. Enjoying a woman who has muscles or has a certain body type is gay, apparently. And it's like, it's a woman, guys.
That's the opposite of gay.
If I were gay, I wouldn't have a problem with it because I don't have a problem with gay people. Like, I am very much about, variety. If that's, different flavors, things like that. Being on bottom, being on top, being, in whatever position. That's all fun. That's all good times. Yeah.
Agreed. And so the article, well, not the article, but this little paragraph after the fact says, so-called quote-unquote alpha males are supposed to sleep with tons of women, but only in an approved masculine manner. Yeah, being in any kind of sexually submissive position is apparently unmanly. And frankly, I don't think a woman being on top is submissive at all. I mean, I don't see what's submissive about that. That's just like another position. Like, what's the big deal? Like, I don't know. I don't think it's submissive at all.
No, and the thing about not going down on a woman, well, I think you're like, imagine for a second that no one ever went down on you. Like, that's a nice part of, the experience.
Of intimacy, sure. Yeah.
Intimacy and sexual fun. And so like getting denied that for, I don't know, I don't understand why it's, I guess, not manly. It's not like I can't even imagine. I can't imagine why it's not manly. Maybe they feel like it's submissive or something.
Well, that's exactly what it is.
What's more manly than giving women crazy good orgasms? Like,
I mean, can you imagine like some of these incel kids that are like, or not even kids, men that you have the option like, okay, well, you can have sex. Well, you're not going to have sex unless it's like you on the bottom and the woman on the top. Are they going to say no to that? Really?
Right.
And then they're going to be humiliated to say they had sex with a woman? I don't think so.
I do think like, so with sex and going down on a woman, I do think there's a bit of an art to these things. And as we've talked about a lot of times, what I now have most associated with being a part of the Manosphere and what they consider manly is incompetence. So it may very well be that they only want to do certain things because they're incompetent at other things. So they might not want to going down on a woman is difficult. I mean, it's not difficult, but it takes some skill and understanding of things like anatomy that they don't want to invest themselves in.
That's Beautifully put. Yeah. And something I was trying to avoid of this question is a personal experience, but I'll just do that. So, in my experience, before I even go into my experience sort of thing, I think you're exactly right. Like, if you don't know how to pleasure a woman, you're not going to do it right, and she's not going to get any kind of satisfaction for it, and she's probably going to knock in your head and tell you to maybe cool it now. You can stop. And like, I mean, can you imagine a more embarrassing thing for a woman to be like, this doesn't feel good at all. You can just stop.
Right.
So, I mean, maybe that's kind of the genesis of that sort of sentiment, is that like I failed at this thing and it was humiliating and she wasn't satisfied and like it killed the mood and like sex was over. You know what I mean? Before it began, maybe, you know?
Yeah. And the other option is that, they know what they like and they try and help you out, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because you can learn from that. And they get pleasure and you're the one doing it, which is all fantastic. But I can see men in the Manosphere feeling like that's somehow, I don't know, being again submissive. And it's no, you want to do this well. Well,
it's also the man thinking they know everything, right? And then I can do this and I can do that and I'm the expert and here I am not being able to do this thing. And worse, I'm being instructed how to do this thing because I'm doing it wrong. So going back to what I was saying earlier, when I was a younger person and knew less of what I was doing, and this is maybe embarrassing because I've got like family members who would listen to this thing, but if I'm the one in control of the sort of pleasure situation and it's not working out, I'd be like, okay, well, let's change it up and move into a position where the woman can sort of move that would, stimulate her better than I could do. And if the outcome is an orgasm, well, then it's a success, whether I was the initiator. Yeah. Whether I was the initiator of that or not, like the thing was done. And it's not like she's like, well, I had an orgasm, but whatever. You know what I mean? Like she's happy she had an orgasm and that's like the end game. It's worse to not have one. And then the sex is over and then she leaves unsatisfied, which is more likely what happens more often than not.
Yeah. I have 3 things to say on this subject and then we can retire from my side. One is, as far as men going down on women, it reminds me of about 4 years ago when DC rejected the possibility of Batman going down on Catwoman in the Harley Quinn series. And it made the news. It was a big deal in some circles. It was very funny because basically DC just said, heroes don't do that, which is a very weird position to take. But I guess like that's where they felt like it was too much. Although if you've watched that show, it's right in line with everything else that's on that show.
Yeah, no, they like beat people to death and blood splatters on that's what heroes do. Yeah. I mean, I can understand the argument of being like, this is like a family character for like all ages, but I can understand like that's being the argument. Batman's for young kids and also for adults, but like we can't have like a sex act in our comic book. I get that unless it's like an adult comic.
They do have sex acts and things like that and allusions to these things. They just drew the line at Batman going down on Catwoman, apparently. So,
well, are they in costume when this was supposed to go down or what?
I'm not sure. I don't know. Like, it wasn't made, so I don't know. But yeah, they did say like heroes don't do that, which is a very weird statement to make if you're, like they could have said something like what you said with like, we're uncomfortable with portraying our character doing this or something like that.
Yeah.
But saying heroes don't go down on women, I think a lot of women would disagree. That was, I had to throw in nerdy comic book stuff because that's something that we do. The other things that I want to like shine a light on is if you've never heard of it or listened to My Dad Wrote a Porno.
No, I've never heard of it.
It's a podcast and it's about this guy who his dad started writing lascivious erotica, but his dad's a bad writer. And he reads it with some friends of his and then they react to it. And it encapsulates some of what we've said about just men not understanding things or knowing how things work. It's really fun. It's a really fun thing to listen to. It's My Dad Wrote a Porno. And it's actually what Jess listens to go to sleep when a lot of times when she's having a bad day or something because it's very funny.
Yeah.
And you'll hear such classic things as when a woman gets turned on, her lids pop. Her lids pop. Like her labia pop open. Like just fundamental lack of understanding about female genitalia and how things work. So like I can understand like, and this is, a guy's dad who's in his like 60s doesn't know this stuff.
Right.
So like I can understand coming from that kind of ignorance why you would feel uncomfortable. Like if you've never even bothered to learn the parts of a woman's genitals and how they function and some of the things that they do, like, yeah, you're uncomfortable with this whole idea. I get that. I get that. It's not something that I would condone or think is okay, but like I get why you then would call it unmanly. But again, it comes back to incompetence and lack of interest.
And the incompetence too, I think this is maybe, I don't know if it's an English speaking world thing or a North American thing, because we're very sexually prudish.
Yeah.
Like I remember being younger and hearing like the jokes, pre-meme jokes about like how the clitoris, it doesn't exist and that sort of thing. And I remember like being curious about that. Like, what does that mean? And like, that's the spot where, so I kind of, as a young man, or not a young man, as a teenager, thinking like, oh, it was going to be really hard to like please a woman because like there's a spot that like you have to find, and like it's really hard to find, and like you're not, and if you can't find it, then she's not going to be satisfied, and so it became this like mythological thing, and like you don't, there's, I mean, at the time anyway, there wasn't a lot of like talk about that sort of thing, you know what I mean? And like, but I mean, like, it's not a mysterious, anatomical part. It's a very clear spot. Like it's not. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing mysterious about it. Like I don't understand why that was like. Well, I don't even know. I don't get the jokes even. Other than men didn't talk about that stuff.
Right.
Men didn't talk about it, and also women didn't talk about it. Women. It was not considered ladylike to discuss that sort of thing. And there's a movie called Hysteria. I think it's a period movie. I don't know if Maggie Gyllenhaal directed it or she was just in it, but there's he's a psychiatrist or a doctor of some kind, and he's training like an apprentice and like how you treat women with hysteria, and they come in and they're mentally stressed, and it's not a dramedy, but there's one scene that I remember. There's a woman, she's in like her period outfit. It's in like the 1800s. And she's got her legs up in a stirrup, and the guy's
her
showing
outfit from that period, not her period.
Yeah,
outfit.
well, yeah, her costume.
Yeah.
So she's wearing her dress, and she's sitting up in like stirrups, and the doctor is like showing the apprentice like how you massage the hysteria like out of her or something. And he's under her dress, and he's like describing it medically to her, and he's massaging her clitoris, and she's moaning and like squirming, and like she has an orgasm, and like that's the treatment. And but it's really, really funny because it's like, and it's supposed to be funny, like it's supposed to be like a funny moment, but it's supposed to be taken seriously. Like he's showing his apprentice like this is the procedure to rid this woman of her hysteria, and they go there for the treatment. It's really, really funny.
Well, the last thing that I'd bring up is my young fortune in this area was that, when you're a young man and you're our age, and you were of our age, there wasn't like internet porn and stuff because there wasn't really internet, and like that came later. And as a young man, you're interested in the female body and things like that. Me and one of my other young friends came into possession of something called Ann Hooper's Pocket Guide to Sex. And it was amazing. It was all about sex and the body and different positions. And it had real pictures of people like in, like, it wasn't like porn, but it was like showing people in different positions that were clearly like, they were a couple different couples throughout the little pocketbook, and they were showing different things, and then there was descriptions of the different body parts and the erogenous zones and things like that. So to come into possession of this at like 12 or 13 was just an amazing bounty.
Yeah,
because
you had quite the head start.
Right. So like when I got going with with other people, like I knew a lot of shit. I knew like I understood a lot of things, and I was ready to experiment. I was ready to go to town, and I think that was really helpful, especially just even having any kind of level of comfort. I can see why, young men they're just like happy to be there, and they're very nervous, and they're afraid. And they're happy to not to be too crude about it, but to get in and out and be done. Like, that's a mission accomplished there. And I think just, starting on a knowledgeable level, not like I wasn't like, a Lothario or anything, but like I knew the parts and I knew what things were supposed to feel good and like things about that. That's really nice. And it's the kind of thing that I am not thrilled to want to talk to about my sons.
Right.
But I feel like it kind of almost behooves me to give them some education about these things, because if they're going to get their education from the internet, it's going to be terrible, because it's going to be like the worst kind of things that whatever Pornhub or whatever has to offer.
Right. That's something that, I mean, I don't regret not having children, but if there's things like that, I'm like, oh, that's something that I would have enjoyed. I would have enjoyed being a part of. Like if I had sons specifically. I mean, of course, there's joys to having daughters as well, but like sons specifically, because I feel like I didn't have answers for a lot of shit when I was growing up. I had to and there was no internet. You know what I mean? You and I, we had to figure. Well, I don't know how about you, but specifically, but like I had to figure out a lot of shit on my own.
Yeah,
and yeah, it would bring me great happiness to dispel all that shit for another generation, and say, hey, it's okay, and we can talk about this, and it's these are good practices. maybe not so much like that kind of thing, but at least show like this is exactly like you were describing. Like this is what this is what that is, and the stuff you see on the internet isn't real like pleasure, and it's performative, and like it's not what you need to be doing.
I don't know if I'd call it a joy. I feel like it's a responsibility that I should do these things, but I'm very uncomfortable about it.
It's easy for me to say because I don't have a relationship with two boys that I've developed over 8 to 14 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I know, like, my older son, it's he's not going to want to take part in that conversation whatsoever. It's going to be like an animal with its leg caught in a trap kind of a situation.
That is so funny.
Like, I might even look up this book and like give it to him.
Yeah.
But I'd also like to be more comfortable so we could talk about some things. Right. But you can get a little graphic, and that's uncomfortable for a kid coming from like his dad.
Yeah, no, it's true. You might just say, hey, sit down, shut up. I'm going to point to some stuff. If you have any questions, let's do it. And I don't know. I think it's going to be worthwhile, and I think you're going to be happy you did it. I think he's going to be happy you did it as well.
Carlos?
Yes, Kip?
Are you ready to fall in love?
I am.
We are on our questions from the New York Times article originally, I think. 36 questions to fall in love. And we've been going through those slowly. We are now up to, I don't know, somewhere in the 20s, but I have it here. And your question for today is not even a question. It's actually make 3 true we statements, we in quotation marks, each. For instance, we are both in this room feeling ellipses. And so we're supposed to just make true statements about us.
Okay. Let me see here. You know what? I'm going to start with the feeling thing. So we each do 3.
Yeah, we each do 3, so we can go back and forth.
Okay. I will say, I'm just going to use their instance because I'm not creative. So we are both in this room. We are both in our rooms feeling light and happy, I think, because I've had past couple of days have been a little hairy for me, but I'll explain maybe later on off mic, but
okay.
At least right now, this has been a joyous conversation, and I see the light in your eyes and the smile on your face, and it's infectious, and it's making me feel good.
All right.
Let's alternate, yeah?
Yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna take a page out of your book and turn this partially into an affirmation. We are both caring, open, emotionally intelligent men.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. I like doing this as an affirmation. I'm stealing your idea now.
Yeah, go for it.
But anyway, just to comment, yeah, I agree. I think we are those things, and it's nice to see that reflected. I feel like I am those things, and it's nice to see that reflected in you as well.
And just because, like, as I say, we're emotionally intelligent or emotionally aware, like, that doesn't mean that we don't also still fuck up those things. But
what?
But we're at least like, functional and like we can express emotions and kind of like be self-reflective and I think that's important, an important part of becoming a fully fledged human being.
Yeah, I mean, and we are,
or whatever.
and we are human beings. Like, we're not going to get everything right every time, obviously, and that's why you can't. You got to give people some grace for screwing up, and even when it's, I don't know, even when it's bad, you got to give them some grace. Okay, this is a cop out, but I'm doing it to move this conversation along. We are both. It is a true statement. We are both handsome, mustachioed men.
Currently mustachioed, yeah.
Currently,
yeah. Or I guess usually mustachioed, but with a beard to match.
We are beardoed. We are beardoed and mustachioed.
Yeah. It is true. Let's see. We are both. I was gonna start off with comic book nerds, but I'm gonna twist this a little bit. I'm gonna say we are both widely versed in things and can bring in our various interests, which sometimes are comic books or comic book worlds, into conversations, which I think enriches conversations in a way that I really enjoy when those things from other areas or unexpected angles come in.
Yeah, I think, well, that's a little bit of conversational acrobatics, I think, that we're able to do. And I think it's a sign of intelligence, really, if you ask me, even if it is comic books. The fact that we can integrate them into our topics, that's, yeah.
Well, as long as it's not always the same thing, like, when I was
No, you brought up Batman going down on a Catwoman. That's pretty specific.
No, I meant like it's not always comic books; it's other things too.
Yeah.
Like when I was reading Moby Dick, it's just like whale facts just beating you over the head. So the variability is also helpful. You bring in all kinds of things like all your interests from your woo side and your work stuff and all kinds of things. You have lots of life experiences and farming and traveling, and those are all really interesting things that I get to hear about.
Well, same with you. I think that's why this works, is that we both have a lot to talk about. Okay, another true statement, or maybe my last true statement. This isn't me just like off the cuff. I was thinking about this. I was talking to Jody about it actually yesterday, maybe day before yesterday. And we've been friends for a long time, but I think as my true statement, we are both becoming, and 100% because of what we're doing with this podcast, we are both becoming very good friends, I think. And like, it is a value to me that I don't think I express, but I appreciate you, and I appreciate that we're doing this and that we're becoming close pals.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do. And especially with my insecurities.
We all got them.
Yeah. So yeah, that's very nice to hear. And I will say that we are both, and I'm going out on a limb here, but not that far, I don't think. I think we're both excited to branch out a little bit also in this podcast and potentially have guests and exciting guests for us. Like, not to get ahead of ourselves, but we're talking to people that actually organize and work for Movember and people that do research and community organization and stuff. And we had a little preliminary conversation the other day, and I thought that was super fun. And I completely monopolized it, and I felt bad about it for days. but
man.
Like I couldn't. Well, Pete, the guy that we were talking to, he was very loquacious. He talked a lot because he was trying to get in everything in a very short amount of time. And then like whenever there was an opportunity to talk, it was me butting my head in, and I felt bad about that. But I think that it's something very interesting, and it's a lot of new perspective and new information that I think we're both really excited about.
I think it's definitely a next step, and I'm really interested in how this is going to go, and keep your ears to the wind for hopefully this month we'll be bearing some fruit with that.
Yeah, you're a little bit nervous about that, aren't you?
Well, that's what I want to say. I am nervous about it, and it's just my own insecurity. My big insecurity or life struggle has been maybe, how can I describe it? Like a sense of needing to control everything. And if I don't have control of it, I say no. You know what I mean? And
that's interesting.
And so when you said, let's do this, maybe we can reach out to whatever interviewers, my first thought is like, no, you know what I mean? Because I'm not ready for that and I need to be ready. And when I'm ready, then we'll do it. But then like, I'll spend half a year getting ready, you know what I mean? And then even then I'm not ready. So like, it is a stupid example, but like Jody's been hounding me that we need to get a new TV. We had this TV for like 7 years. We bought it super cheap when we bought it. And it's a piece of shit. Like we need a new TV. Yeah. And my thing is I don't want to spend $1,000 on a television because like, then we're going to watch a lot of TV. You know what I mean? And like, I don't want to do that. And we already watch more TV than I want to admit. So finally I'm like, oh yeah, we need a new TV. This thing's glitchy. It's like, it's not good anymore. So when we were talking about it, she's like, oh, my parents are going to Costco here and there. She's like, let's get a TV. I'm like, you know what? You go and get a TV because if I'm there, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no to this. I'm going to say no to that. I'm going to say no to this. And we're going to get a garbage TV because I said no to everything. Like, just go get us a TV and, don't spend a fortune on it, but like, go get us a TV. And that's like a bit of relinquishing that control and letting her make a good decision for us. And I kind of did the same thing with this interview thing. I'm like, my first thought was I'm not ready and we're not ready. And like, what about this? What about that? You know what? Let's skip do it and not have my hands around this thing and like choke it to death before it even is born. To have a weird dark analogy.
I appreciate that. And it's interesting that you talk about control because like, so I like to have a lot of control over our finances. But outside of that, like professionally, I love like not like in my personal life, but like professionally or whatever, I love chaotic situations because I feel like where I thrive is making good decisions quickly in chaotic environments. And it's a place where a lot of people have trouble. So it's kind of like professionally, that's where I've always kind of made my bones. It's like, yeah, throw problems at me. Like other people freak out, I will fix them. Those are the things I want. I don't want boring things. I'll fail.
And I'm the same way in a lot of ways, but I think to a degree, like at least in my case, that'll fail me in some cases. And I think in a case where we were dealing with this PhD that we were discussing, having a conversation with, who was like stunningly well versed in all things men's health. And I don't know why I would expect otherwise. He's a professional. He's a PhD. He's like deeply intertwined in this research. Yeah, he's a research fellow. So encountering that sort of like body of knowledge that I didn't prepare for. I don't think I personally would do well just jumping in and be like, all right, let's have a conversation about something that I know zero about and like everything about. I don't even have the questions for him. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, like winging it in this case isn't an option. Like I have to do some preparation a little bit. And that might be great for you. I mean, you do have more experience in academia where you have some stuff probably like in the chamber ready to go. I don't. I mean, I've got a bachelor's degree, but it's not. There's no research in a undergraduate degree. I mean, there is, but come on, it's an undergraduate degree. So anyway, yeah, all that's to say is, it's nice to kind of let you take the reins on that and like lead us to this sort of thing, and we'll see where it goes.
And we both got to talk about our insecurities today, which is kind of fun. Trigger warning, we will be talking about suicide in this episode.
All right, Skip. Well, continuing on with our final data point here for Movember, which is all about men's health. The first episode we talked about prostate cancer. The second one we talked about testicular cancer. And now we're talking about maybe the heaviest one, suicide among men.
And mental health in general too, I think. Yeah.
Mental health in general. Yeah. In this case, I'll be talking mostly about suicide here. I've got like the CDC.gov website open, which is the government Center for Disease Control. They did collect a bunch of data. I don't know what they're doing now. But anyway, at the website, they say that suicide is one of the leading causes of death in the United States, just in general, not just men. So I'm just going to get a little heavy on statistics just for a few minutes here. This is suicide rates among groups, not about just men, just people in the United States. I bring it up because it's surprising, and this is 2023 data. The highest rate of suicide in the United States is among non-Hispanic American Indian/Alaskan natives, which I found to be bizarre and fascinating and just something that I am not aware of. Like, I mean, there's something going on there. They're at 23.8%. And second is non-Hispanic white people, and they're 17.6%. And then at 17.3% is non-Hispanic Native Hawaiian/other Pacific Islanders. And then it drops pretty dramatically to non-Hispanic multiracial to 9%. and so on. But I found that, I mean, you have non-Hispanic white people, and then you have natives, which I found, whether they're Pacific Islander or they're like Alaskan natives, the highest rates of suicide. I don't know what to make of that. I just kind of encountered it.
I do know that Alaska has a lot. Well, for one, anytime you're dealing with a marginalized kind of community and things like that, I think that's a big part of it. And all the communities you named are marginalized.
Right. Well, not the non-Hispanic whites, but yes.
Yeah. But economically, like troubled economically. But there's also in Alaska, amongst the entire population, I know, huge problems with alcoholism.
Right.
To the point where there are dry cities and stuff, and you can get in a lot of trouble for having alcohol in them. So I think there's, a confluence of factors that are probably at play up there.
Well, and I had read not recently, this was back when I was kind of learning about the Roma culture, the gypsy culture in Europe, about why they're in the predicament that they're in as a marginalized culture. And part of that was a word that I'd never heard of before, and I don't know if I'm even saying it properly, is called deracination. Deracination. When your race is completely obliterated and you don't have a culture to really glom onto. And that's exactly what happened to the Roma during World War II. They much like the Jews and the gays and all the people that were targeted by the Nazis. They were forced out of their culture. They were and a lot of these like northern native cultures, exactly the same thing. They were put into schools and taken from their families, and that becomes a generational problem where they don't have an identity. And surely this is exactly what that means. Now, the outlier is the 17.6% non-Hispanic whites, and that's a whole other issue that, I mean, we can try unpacking. But, and again, this is not about men. This is about just suicide in general. Suicide among males in 2023 was 4 times higher than the rate among females. They make up 50% of the population, but nearly 80% of suicides. And then also, I found this to be interesting as well. People 85 and older had the highest rates of suicide in 2023. 85 plus was at 22.7, dropped to 19.4 at 75 to 84. And this is what I found really interesting. Between the age ranges of 65 and 74, it was 15.7. So it dropped by 4 points. And then just before that, it was up 3 points. So it was up, dropped at that age, and then went back up again. So I found that to be really, really interesting. And there's a lot more information on the cdc.gov page if anyone wants to check it out. We'll link to it. There's another website called headsupguys.org, and that is an outfit out of the University of British Columbia. I guess a think tank and research group. And they found that mental illness is the most important risk factor for suicide. More than 90% of people who die by suicide struggle with their mental health and or addiction. I mean, that seems kind of obvious. If you're committing suicide, you have a mental health issue. But I think what people don't realize also is that depression is a mental health issue. That's something that's an issue that can be treated, and you can stop being depressed. Like, there's a way out of that. It's just it seems hopeless when you're in it. But addiction, I think, exacerbates that and makes you depressed. It makes you hopeless, and all those terrible, terrible things. And that 60% of people who die by suicide have major depression. I expect that to be a lot higher. I imagine if you're committing suicide, you're probably pretty depressed. I don't know if that number doesn't seem right to me, but that's what's being reported. In Canada, suicide is the second leading cause of death for men under the age of 50. In the UK, suicide is the single largest cause of death for men under the age of 50. And in the US, it's the second most common cause of death for men under the age of 45. So it's a big thing.
Yeah.
And that's what Movember is all about, is just kind of bringing that attention to the fore, and people recognize, and not just people, like men can recognize, hey, this is you're not alone. I mean, you're not the only one feeling this way. And if you're a woman or a trans person or whoever is feeling this, like, you're not alone. A lot of people feel this way, and they just don't talk about it.
Right.
A big thing that I noticed here when I was looking up information for this is the thoughts of suicide are common. And I'll say a little bit about myself as well. I have never had serious thoughts of suicide at all. But I will say, in my lowest points in life, I've had intrusive thoughts of like self-harm. And I don't mean like cutting or anything like that. So for example, if I said something, stupid in high school or whatever, which, who doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you have this, Skip, but like throughout my life, and it's less and less now. I don't know if it's just an age thing or I'm just like I'm not a miserable human being anymore. But throughout my life, I've remembered like dumb comments that I've made. And I remember the person that I made it to. And I'm like, oh, I'm just like, I die a little inside when I remember like, fuck, I wish I hadn't said that. And that's like 20, 30 years ago, you know what I mean? But they stay with you and you wish you hadn't said that and you never forget them.
Yeah. No, I do have those moments, and I don't have them as much. I hope that's because I'm getting better at these things. But I definitely have things. I mean, I think about things from, just like you, I think about things from 20, 30 years ago where I'm just like, man, that was dumb. I wish I could just go back and change that or apologize or what an asshole. You know, or like, just like, what was I thinking? Yeah, I fully get that. And I think the other thing, you know, we can continue, but the other thing that you said was like, people just don't talk about it. And that is, you know, when we were talking about prostate cancer and testicular cancer and this, like the biggest problem in men's health, because prostate cancer and testicular cancer have such good prognoses, is just not talking to anyone about, not going to see the doctor, not talking to anybody when you're feeling bad. And like, this is largely what our podcast is about too, is just getting men talking. And when we were talking to the guy from Movember, you know, as I looked through all the things that they were studying and researching, it was all the mental health elements. You know, they weren't putting their money into prostate cancer or testicular cancer, which, you know, like I said, have good prognoses. They were putting it into, how do we get men to just be healthier emotionally and with connections, because that's a lot of how these things get helped.
Right. Yeah, that was I don't want to go too far backward, but that was I'd mentioned to you before, a really positive conversation, just preliminary conversations, just to know like how much research is being done right now over this like seemingly hopeless direction that we're going was really uplifting for me. And I'm looking forward to sharing that with like in a future episode with some of these guys from Movember. But what I wanted to say though, regarding intrusive thoughts is I don't have those anymore. And every once in a while they pop up. I'm like, whoa, but I don't have those anymore. And I realize now it's because, and I'm not saying that you're like miserable or anything, but I was like a really unhappy person. And when I sort of like wrangled that away, those thoughts went away. And the intrusiveness of the thoughts were, this is why I brought up this whole topic here, is when I would think of like this dumbass thing that I said as a kid, or when I said in my 20s or my 30s or whatever, and like the response that I got or didn't get or whatever, and I'd be like, I wish I hadn't said that. I wish I could just blah, blah, blah. The thought in my head, and then they would come as fast as thought. You know what I mean? As fast as you can imagine like a thought. It wouldn't be like, I wish I hadn't said that. The immediate response would be me like strangling myself, or like me but you know, like they weren't intentional. The thought was like, oh, rather than like, oh, I wish I could take that back. It would just be like, oh, and that's done. You know what I mean? Or worse, you know what I mean? But I didn't have thoughts of suicide in the classical way that you would imagine. Like I wasn't planning like, oh man, you know what? It'd be better off if I was just dead or whatever. It would just be like a reflexive idea that would just pop in my head. Suicidal ideation, that's what you hear. And that's what would pop in my head. And I never had like an impulse to kill myself. That was never a thing for me, but I didn't realize that those are really, really unhealthy thoughts. And when you think of intrusive, like self-harm thoughts like that, that's what that is. And so if you're having those thoughts, whether you're like feeling suicidal or not, because I was, like I said, I was never feeling suicidal, but my response to these embarrassing things that I had said or regrets that I would reflect on were like this graphic image of harming myself. And I didn't realize that's what they were talking about. That's what that was. And I don't have those anymore. They're gone. They're completely gone. And every now and then I'll get like this, I'll like, oh, I wish I hadn't thought that. But those ideas of like, those images of like strangulation or whatever would pop in my head, those are gone. And I realize now, like, I was really, really unhappy. I was really, really unhappy. And I feel like, I won't say those are preliminary stages to like suicide, because that could be like well advanced for some people. I don't know. But I think for me, like that was maybe the beginning stages of those things. And yeah, I'm happy that those thoughts are gone now. But if you're having those ideas, if you're having those thoughts, like recognize them, you know what I mean? And get rid of them. And there are ways of doing that. You can reduce your exposure to risks and triggers. So like, let's say, for example, you're crossing a bridge or whatever, you're on foot or whatever, and you have these ideas, get off the damn bridge. Don't go to an area where these sort of triggers of suicide might happen, because who knows how strong those thoughts can be and when they can they can overtake you. You know what I mean? So just take yourself out of a situation where you might actually be of harm. Practices like slowing your breathing and refocusing your attention and acknowledging, but don't engage in those thoughts. You know what I mean? Use your senses, close your eyes for a few moments and try to recreate the room in your mind. And these are all like centering exercises. You know what I mean? They're meditative. They're visualization exercises. They're grounding exercises where you feel the earth beneath your feet. And it sounds woo-woo, but it's not. Like, it's really just a matter of recentering your thoughts, reorganizing your mind. And if you do them enough times, that's how I busted out of my loop, is I started meditating. And I'm not saying you if the meditation is an ugly word for you, get it out of there, because you don't need to even regard it as meditation. Just think of it as a mental exercise, a mental training. And maybe most importantly, if you're able to reach out to somebody. When I was living in Texas, I just blasted on Facebook, who can help me? I didn't do it in those words, but I that's what it was. It was a call for help. And a friend reached out, and I jumped on that bandwagon, and it really, really, really helped. That took me out of a really dark place, but it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't reached out to people and somebody reached back. So I don't know. I've done a whole lot of talking, Skip. What you got?
Yeah.
You got any thoughts on this?
I do have thoughts. And I think you said some interesting things. And the one little nugget that I'll really pull out, because I think this is very important, especially for men, is when you said acknowledge but don't engage. Because a lot of time what men will do is not acknowledge that there's a problem, and they'll push it down. Like push it down and ignore it. And that does not make anything better. And it is typically the masculine or manly way to deal with it. And it's, something that we as men need to change, because it's literally killing us. And the other part of that is, once you acknowledge, not engaging with it. And, you talked about reaching out and talking to people. I think all these things that you're talking about, meditation, all these things, whatever you want to call it, part of these are by not pushing it down and ignoring it. There are ways of, if not with somebody else, even having a conversation with yourself about it.
Absolutely.
Where you are thinking about what's actually going on and saying, like, I recognize this thought, but that's not something that I want for myself. And, I've got to think of ways to kind of correct out of this loop and not spiral with it, not steer into the downfall or the spiral or whatever.
Right.
So like that really, so much of what we talk about is reaching out and having connection. I do think that's important, and it's part of what you were saying, but also just kind of being connected with yourself. Because I think a lot of the problems that we have is people not really examining themselves,
right?
On an internal level. But I do feel like I want to talk about a man I knew that committed suicide, and I'm not gonna name him by name, but he was a friend of mine. I'm not going to say he was like my best friend or anything, but he was a friend of mine. And he had always kind of been around for a really long time, like at least a decade. I'd known him, and I knew he was struggling, and he had started struggling. His mother died when he was younger, and he never could quite move beyond that. And, not saying that he should have, but I don't know what his history was with therapy or anything like that. My guess, just kind of like monetary situation of ourselves in youth, probably didn't have access to as much as he would have or should have. Maybe, I don't know whether he would like to or not. And I didn't, to my deficit, I never talked to him about this stuff. It was just stuff that I knew. And I remember lots of times where we initially started off at odds because we both liked the same lady in our friend circle. But once that kind of got resolved years later, we started to really get along. And, I visited him. He had lived up in Seattle, and he was always having a hard time. He was always struggling. And there were little things that I did that I hope made a difference for a while. When there was something wrong with his toilet when I visited him, where it ran or it wouldn't flush, or you had to reach inside the thing. And so while he was at work one day, I went to Home Depot and I fixed it, because I'm pretty handy. I'm not a handyman, but I knew how to do it. And he also collected rubber duck, these themed rubber duckies for some reason, and he was into it. So I fixed it, and I put a rubber ducky on the inside of the toilet tank for when he'd look to see why it was working. And, I got a message from him later on. He was like, that, really delighted me. And it was so nice having you around. Like, we lived on opposite sides of the planet, when he committed suicide. And I certainly would not have been the first person that he would have called. But I think had he called somebody, he wouldn't have done it. And that's the thing that I'd like to say is just like, if you're worried about this, reach out to somebody, because this guy was not my best friend. He wasn't somebody that I talked to often even, but like, man, I'm getting surprisingly emotional just talking about it now. It's really sad. He was a really nice guy and I really liked him. And, for all the things that are involved with it, whether you want to talk about our medical system or masculinity or whatever, it's just a really sad loss. And that's what Movember is about as well. And so
it affects people. You know what I mean? It affected you before, it's affecting you now. Like, I mean, if you commit suicide, and even the word committing suicide, if you enact death by suicide, it affects people. And for a long, long time, people do care about you, whether you realize it or not.
Yeah. I mean, something that, a friend reached out and told me that he had died. And, something that I heard from her was how pissed off she was. And like suicide, it's something that you do to take care of your problems, but it's a violent act that you commit on other people, even though you're doing something to yourself. And I don't want to make, like, if people have had other people that they care about that committed suicide, I'm not trying to say something bad about them. It's just the reality of the situation is that it's a violent act to the people that do care about you. Not one that you're intending, but it is something that affects them, even if you don't, whatever it is, whatever the reasoning is that you think it's not worth going on. It just is. It just is worth going on and reaching out. And
well, I think that maybe the most important point is that this is a period in your life that can be overcome. You know what I mean? This darkness, this hard time that you, the people, are experiencing. It's a period. It's a relatively short period. You can move past this. You can get beyond depression. It can happen, and it happens faster, I think, with help. But if you don't feel like you've got a strong network, there are ways, and you can overcome this. And it's not the mountain that you think it is. It's just seemingly a big problem for you right now. But you can move past it, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel. But you're going to get through it if you stay here.
As the kids would say, don't unalive yourself.
Do they say that?
Yes. So we'll just leave it there. I think
one last thing though is on this headsupguys.org, there's a crisis line, crisis chat. There's suicide safety plans, and there is a mental health screening tool for depression, where you can, like for me, for example, when I was like having these intrusive thoughts, I didn't really realize that I was depressed.
Right.
And maybe an online assessment tool might have made me aware of that. And this is one of them. How effective it is, it's from the University of British Columbia, so clearly there's research behind it. I'm sure there are others online as well, but we'll put everything in the show notes here. I did take the test. I'm not depressed, I'm happy to say. According to their assessment, but I don't know, check it out. And there's simple questions I won't go through because I think that it'd be nice to be organic, but you can do the depression check and find out where your head's at, maybe from learned people. And I don't know, maybe it could cause a positive change for you, and at least to be aware of these things.
Exactly. Yeah. We've had enough cunnilingus and suicide for today.
All right, Skip. So I'd like to know what your joy is for this week. What's going on?
All right. Well, part of my joy is Movember. We've talked about that extensively at this point. Another part of my joy is I'm going to go with the Czech medical system because it is infuriating at times, but I'm going to go with the positives here.
Okay.
Especially some of the things we've been talking about with like access, just having access. So I'll say, like, I went to my PT guy on Monday after waiting a month, and I'll wait another month for my appointments to start where I actually get the PT he described. And while that is a long wait, the whole thing is going to cost me $25. So just the fact that I have access to those things and, this isn't an emergency situation, it's my sciatica and stuff like that. It's nice. And I went to this morning. Every once in a while, you're allowed by the Czech government or Czech insurance to get insoles twice a year, and the Czech people find this very important. So I had gone to a lady previously, and so I do it just because it can't hurt. And it's supposed to correct my feet and stuff. But I go and talk to my doctor, one of my doctors for this thing, and she is a lady that's fairly old. She was born, I did the math today because she said she was 15 in the Velvet Revolution, so she was born in like 1953, so she's an older lady. And every time I come in, she just goes on this like monologue about, she was like, oh, it must be, yes, you're American. Oh, it must be so nice to have the socialized healthcare. And she goes on to the kids going to school here and talking about like the war in Ukraine but we must be optimistic, but the world must give us a place for this optimism. She just she goes on this just sort of speech for like 15 minutes where I'm kind of going like, I agree. Yes, every once in a while. But she's just kind of, and she's only got like, I come in and I say, I want a new insoles. And she's got to write like one sentence, but she's just kind of, and it's lovely to meet you. It's lovely to meet you.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
Not meet me for a first time, but like, that's what she's saying, to see me again.
You.
And and like all these things. And then I up to the insole place and I walk on this thing and they measure my feet and they're like, no, oh, your arches are getting a little bit better. And I wait another 2 weeks and then I get the insoles and blah, blah, blah. So it's all like all these things, they are processes, but just having access to it and cheaply and trying to look at some of these experiences that could be annoying, like listening to this lady for 15 minutes when I just need a little slip of paper. But she's so nice. I always regret not recording the conversation for Jess because it's like, I could be annoyed at this, but I'm going to choose in the way that Carlos would suggest to get enjoyment out of this situation and how nice this is, how she's caring, and she's just kind of going off on her views on the world. And
it sounds joyous though. She doesn't sound ugly about it though, right? It sounds
no,
positive.
She's not ugly about it at all. She's just out there giving her opinion.
No. That's
fun. And it's not an opinion I disagree with. It's just very funny to be like, you're from the US, you must love socialized healthcare and our and education for your kids and things like that. So,
you should next time you should be in there and be like, make America great again. That's nice. That's really nice, especially for a person of her age who experienced she was 15, I guess, for the Velvet Revolution. So most of her adult life
memorable.
was But at 15 you experienced oppressive communism in a way that.
Sorry, that was or not. I'm sorry, I misspoke. That was for Prague Spring.
I was going to say, like, she's not that much older than us.
No, that was for Prague Spring. So I misspoke. But
it was like 67 or something, right?
She was into late 30s by the time communism fell.
She got a heavy dose of communism, which really marred a lot of the Czech psyche, I think. For that generation. So it's really nice to see somebody with like such a positive outlook in the world.
Yeah. So what's your joy this week, Carlos?
Joys are, same with Movember. Like, I'm pleasantly pleased with my little stash, and I'm glad it's a temporary thing. I don't think I'll continue with it, but it's nice to like change it up because I was like surprisingly bashful about going out in public with a mustache. But anyway, it worked out, and I'm pleased that Jody likes it, and it's funny. So that's been a joy. The other one was this is me getting mushy with you again, but like when I mentioned earlier that when I was talking to Jody about how we're becoming close friends, I was thinking about how like I was thinking about my buddy Craig that like we reconnected a couple of years ago, and like I don't know, man, like I've never been closer to him as far as like I've known him since we were children, but like there's some defenses that are down from both of us, I think, and like it's a real comforting relationship that I have with him now, and we've never been that way, and it's nice to have that. And like I think of that that relationship that I have with him, and I feel like relief. You know what I mean? Like that I have him.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that with you. I'm like, yeah, we're becoming like close like that, and it's nice for me. Like it's really nice to like, I don't know. It's also a relief. You know what I mean? That I can that I've got Skip. If there's really no other way of saying that. Like I've got Craig, and I've got Skip, and I've got people, and you know I've got family and stuff. But like to have these sort of like solid friendships is a real. I don't have any other way to describe it other than it's a relief. And so that sort of realization has been a joy for me this week.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like we're becoming closer, and it's really nice. And it's just kind of like an obvious thing to a lot of people probably, but it's a wonder what just like talking will do. You know, we picked this topic, outside of the Manosphere, just kind of like almost like out of the blue to just be like, well, it's uncommon for men to do this, so let's address that. But like, I don't know, we could have picked anything, and I'd still be enjoying just having an excuse to talk to you and get your thoughts on something, whether it be like we could have done a comic book podcast, clearly, or whatever. But you know, it's just making that time has been really, it's very precious. An uncancelable appointment for me. Like,
yeah, same. But I also think that making friendship sort of like not really the objective. Well, yeah, I mean it is the objective. In our intro, you hear it. We're trying to become closer friends by talking to each other. I was talking to Jody about it. I'm like, it's wonderfully gratifying. I'm like, we started this thing to become better friends, and it's working. It's actually working. It's like, it's really neat. Like it's a really, really positive, not even development, because this is the trajectory we're going in, but like it's working. And man, what a model. And I hope that like not everyone starts a podcast, but I guess what, like you can have, you know, like weekly coffee sessions with your buddy and like, and make it like, to me, rather than saying like, hey, let's talk about comics or let's talk about this, let's say, hey, let's meet to become better friends, and whatever and we'll make it a comic book conversation or whatever. But like, the point is I want to be better friends with you. That's exactly what I said to my friend Craig. I said, I don't know what happened, but I want to be your friend again. Like, I want to be friends again. This, I don't know why we drifted away, but I want to be friends. I miss you and I want to be friends again. And that was my objective when I wrote them. That was our objective when we started this podcast. And I think that honesty has been like the guide for both relationships for me. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, like have conversations with your friends, but I think like make sure you both are on the same page. Like, this is because I want to be pals. I want to be close, and I want that. And yeah, it's just really neat to see it working. Sorry, I saw you were about to say something and I stopped you.
No, it's good. Yeah, I completely agree. And I had that same experience recently, and I don't even know why. I was sitting down with somebody and I was nervous. I was like really nervous to say anything. But after a while, I just said like, I want to be better friends with you again. Like, I used to be really good friends with you. I don't know what I'd like to be a better friend. And that's it. And like, you know, there may have been things from both sides or whatever, but it didn't matter. I didn't want to get bogged down in any of that. I just said like, I want to be a better friend, and like took it upon myself to make that statement, and it felt good, you know. And like, there are places where I've fallen down, like I've reached out to some people and haven't quite followed through, but there are another friend that I meet every week for lunch, and you know, it's nice. I don't know that we always know what to say to each other other than catching up on the week, but like, we're figuring it out, and it's just something that we find important to do. So that's nice.
You're showing up for it. That's the key, right? It's not always going to be a smooth conversation. It's not always going to be easy. So maybe it'll be awkward at times, but you're both showing up for it. And to me, man, that's the gold standard. If you're both there, I mean, what else can you hope for? You know what I mean? You're both there to do this thing.
Well, and one thing I'll say, and this is kind of a preview or a leak from our conversation with the Movember guy, Dr. Pete Fisher. So I'll plug him. You know, he had talked about something that I'd heard about before, but I had forgotten about, which is this men's sheds thing. And it's about how men do better when they're not talking like we do face to face. They do better when they're talking shoulder to shoulder. So like at sports things or doing woodworking or whatever. And I was tickled that he kept mentioning woodworking, because obviously that's something that I've wanted to do. So if you're a man that wants to connect, but you don't want to just be, you know, whatever, if you think it's unmanly or you're nervous about whatever, suggest going to do something with somebody, and you don't have to completely tackle those awkward conversations. You can just be like, let's go. Would you like to go see, a game or a movie? I'm not a sports guy, so I don't know. But or do something, do an escape room or whatever. It doesn't matter. Just find that excuse to get in the same room with somebody.
And schedule it.
And schedule it. Yeah.
Every week, let's go play frisbee golf or whatever. You know what I mean? Let's start a softball beer league or whatever. You know what I mean? Let's plan something and let's get together and let's show up.
Field of dreams, this thing, man. If you schedule it, it'll come. Thank you so much for joining us. New podcasts every Wednesday. And if any part of this show has resonated with you, let us know at outsidethemanosphere@gmail.com. You can also reach us on Instagram, Facebook, and now YouTube. Please like, rate, subscribe to the podcast, YouTube channel, or recommend us to a friend. We hope you'll come back. Have a good one.
Bye-bye now. What are you looking up there?
Ann Hooper's Pocket Guide to Sex. It is. Oh, I found it, and I found it for 48 crowns.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm gonna buy that book. I'm gonna send it to you in the Facebooks. Yeah, it was great. It's a great little book.
Nice. That would have been nice to have had that. I left a trail of dissatisfied women until she gets a job.
That's hilarious.